Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Relationship Advice for Women, where we have been doing this segment called The Other Woman. My name is Jonna, but you all also know me as Grace, and we have Miss Lisa. Now, in this situation, she would not have been the other woman, but she was the woman that was betrayed, but she was able to escape that and come into something quite beautiful. So we want to hear from her concerning that situation. So, Miss Lisa, can you please tell us how it started with
Yeah,
your ex-husband?
yes. First of all, thank you very much for having me on. I do appreciate it. This is going back years ago that he left me for another woman back about 13 years ago, but it is still relevant today, and I'll get to that. But yeah, he actually, I had said 2 days before he left me to another person that we were happily married. I had no idea it was happening at the time. Now, of course, looking back on it, hindsight is 2020. But he came in one day and said, "I don't want to do this anymore," and
Mm.
just walked out on me.
It was
And
just out of nowhere?
it came out of absolutely nowhere. He just came in one day into our apartment, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "I don't want to do this anymore." And I said, "What do you mean? Do what?" Still having no idea. And he said he didn't want to be married to me anymore. And immediately my world, just everything, like, just started crumbling. The rug was pulled out from me. My just started everything just coming down on me. It was horrible.
Can you tell us like what led up to this? How were things before? When did y'all get married? What year?
So we got married in 2006.
Okay.
And we had, right after that, about 3 weeks after that, we had moved to Maine, which I still reside. And yeah, he of course, and like I said, now to look back on it, yes, of course there were red flags. Yes, of course there were things I probably should have seen, but at the time, it felt like it came out of absolutely nowhere and hit me like a Mack truck. But I
Mhm,
mean, he was in recovery for alcoholism,
mhm.
and we had both graduated college, so there was a lot of stress, and um, we had finally moved to Maine, and we were up here for about 4 years, and everything seemed fine. And then I started working a job that uh, made me work later in the evening because I was fundraising,
Mhm.
and something started. My gut started feeling a bit off,
What
but of
year was this
course,
that you started feeling off?
this was probably about 2010.
Okay, about 4 years later.
Yeah. And so again, we had been together altogether. Our relationship lasted about 11 years. So
Okay.
I, of course, just said, "Oh, it must be something else." Whatever. I'm nervous about the fundraiser. I'm nervous about speaking. I always kept pushing it off like it was something else. Didn't listen to my gut, which is what, I'm sure you and I tell every woman: listen to your gut. It is not wrong.
Mhm.
So, yep. So then he came home, and then within a week of him leaving me, I discovered that he was with another woman, because, of course, he didn't tell me that. And
Mhm.
he already had a furnished apartment living with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was
So
like a whole double life.
yeah, a double life. Cause okay, so because 'cause we're talking 11 years, and I'm trying to figure out what led to this point, and
I don't know. So this may help you. So after he had left me, about 6 months later, he called me, and he asked if I could help him. And what does that mean? And ultimately, what it meant was he needed to go back into rehab. And the woman that he left me for, had already moved on because he was an alcoholic and he had relapsed. She couldn't deal with it. So he
mm,
called me to help deal with it. And I tried to help him, got him back into rehab, stayed with him during a suicide watch. And after I had finally met the man who is now my husband, my current husband, my last husband, um,
mhm.
he was diagnosed with bipolar 1. So I do believe everything that happened in our relationship. If I were to go back and dissect it now, that it was probably a huge reason for everything that happened in his
Okay.
life, in our relationship. And actually, he in 20, what was it, 2013? No, 2015. I'm sorry. He actually died from
Really?
his heart gave out. Yeah, because he was on lithium for the bipolar one, and he kept drinking, and his heart gave out.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, if I were to go back to and dissect everything, truth be told, we were in a sexless marriage for a while. The year and a half before he left me, it was a totally non-intimate relationship. But still, I didn't stop to think, wait a minute, maybe this is something really serious. It was all, oh, well, tomorrow's another day kind of thing. You lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You don't
Can't
want to
wait
face
until
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
That is such a lie to think that you have to tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely, clearly, because I mean, he's gone now. He died at 44.
That is
So,
terrible.
yeah. So, but
How did that
yeah,
make you feel when you found out he passed away?
I say that he broke my heart twice. He broke my heart
Wow.
when he left me, and then he broke my heart again when he died, because I spent so long with him trying to help him and trying to get him healthy. Because I always said he was a good man. He just had really bad demons. I mean, yes, he cheated on me, and that was horrible for me.
Yeah.
Um, but all in all, he just had a lot of demons. And so, yes, it was, there was, and still I battle with the mixed emotions. He was a real jerk for what he did to me, but, he didn't deserve his heart giving out at 44.
Wow.
So, so
Wow.
yeah. And, it's something that I take obviously now into my relationship that I have with my husband. I keep doing this. He's in the living room.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. I get that. And I kind of wanted to like what I know you said the last years was like a sexless marriage. And then why I kind of want to go back is because with your stories, I want people to identify the signs. Identify besides the alcoholism, you obviously couldn't control his alcoholism.
mhm.
But when you said you began to work, I believe you said you began to work longer hours with that or night shift or something like that. What was that like? How did he respond when you began to work that shift?
Yeah, so it was I guess it was about a year and a half after we had moved up here. And I started working odder hours, I should say. So I worked at a nonprofit that was very prominent in the area. So I would have to work fundraisers that would keep me out till about 8, 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night, depending on how much we had to clean up. And he seemed fine with it. There was really no difference in him. The only time that I really felt that there was any difference was one of the last times I was at a fundraiser at right next to the ocean, and I called him thinking I was being all cute and everything,
Hmm.
and said, "Oh, I wish you were here. It's so romantic." And
Hmm.
it seemed like he wanted me to get off the phone. Like he was pushing me to get off the phone. He didn't have anything to say. He didn't want to talk to me. And
Hmm.
that was truly when I went, what just happened? And probably about a month or two later, that's when he walked out on me.
Okay, and so like years before that, before this led up, what were y'all's typical day like, or what were your conversations like?
Oh, wow. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before.
Mhm.
Um, I think it was really mundane. I think it is a really good word for it. We became roommates. I think
So,
probably halfway through our relationship, we
mhm,
started to become roommates, and to look back on it now, I do believe that it was systematic, and
mhm,
what I mean by that is just he he in the beginning of our relationship was very passionate, very, how every beginning relationship is. And then slowly, when I would try to initiate something, he would kind of make me feel bad for doing that, tell me he's not in the mood or something. So it was very systematic, and a process of me then, um, what's the word? Like, just tamping down my feelings, my emotions, my desires and needs, and
Invalidating your
exactly, yes, absolutely. But like I said, and I think so many women go through this, is that because it's systematic, you don't see it. It's like that story of the elephant, where there's a little baby elephant, and there's a rope around him. Well, as the elephant gets larger, that rope doesn't get larger. The elephant can walk away, but it's tied to that because that's all it's known. I'm sure I'm not getting that perfect, but you know what I mean? So it was very, it didn't go from A to Z. There was so much in between that made me say to myself, oh, well, oh, it's normal. Don't worry about it. You know,
Mhm. And when you say systematic, what do you mean by systematic?
that it was really, like, he wouldn't tell me that, oh, well, I don't want sex. No, I don't want that. It would be smaller things like, "Oh, stop it. You always want it," or, can't, "I'm not in the mood," or, I'm getting a cold," or something like that. So it wasn't an immediate reaction. It was kind of
Okay.
short little,
Some little excuse every time.
yes,
Something.
that got bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
to the fact, and then to the end where I didn't ask anymore. I didn't
Wow.
initiate. I didn't, um yeah, for a year and a half.
That is so dangerous to
It
continue.
is.
Yeah.
It is, and to think that I told somebody 2 days before he walked out that we were happily married, knowing that we hadn't had, intimacy in a year and a half.
Mhm.
That goes to show you how not only you can lie to yourself, but
Yeah.
you lie to other people.
Yeah, because you didn't want them to know that.
Exactly, yeah, of course, yeah.
Right, and so did you all have any children?
No, no, neither one of us,
Okay,
ever had kids together,
that's
and he
good.
he died and didn't have children, and I never wanted them, so no.
Oh, and you never wa oh, so you don't even have them now?
No, no,
Okay, so y'all never so that wasn't an issue, and
no.
so how, how was the day in the life of living with an alcoholic?
It was weird. We got together, so strange enough, we met in a bar. I was the bartender,
Mhm,
um, and I, in the beginning, didn't realize he was an alcoholic. Silly me. And I think probably the reason I didn't realize it was because my mother and father were alcoholics. So it was very
mhm.
normal. It was
Wow.
normal to drink all that beer. It was
Mhm,
normal to two fist a beer and a shot or a
mhm,
cocktail.
mm,
It was normal for me. I didn't think anything. And it wasn't until I tried to keep up with his drinking. I tried to
mm.
match him. I tried to drink as much as I could and stay at his level, and it was absolutely impossible. He was a very high functioning alcoholic.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm, and did that his alcoholism cause you to stop drinking alcohol or
It No, I don't think so. I still drank, but I just drank to my level,
Right,
which still probably was too much.
mhm,
And it wasn't until after he had left me, I like immediately got into therapy and
okay,
told my therapist that I had gotten drunk one day, woke up, and then got drunk again. That she said that maybe you're an alcoholic.
mm,
And that's when I realized that, wow, maybe I am. But once I started working on myself a little more, and understanding why I was drinking as much, why I couldn't, that I had to work on the pain that I was feeling. I couldn't drown it.
mhm,
That's when the alcohol intensity stopped for me.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and did you all go on any trips together?
Just small ones. I mean, we would go. we were both from Pennsylvania, the coal country in Pennsylvania, the northeast side.
Mhm.
So, his father had a cabin in the woods, so we would go there a lot. We would go to this beautiful little town called Jim Thorpe. We would do that. So we would go on little trips, and it wasn't until we moved to Maine that
Mhm.
it was anything really substantial that we did together.
And how were those trips together? Like, what's the most substantial trip, and how was like? Because generally trips are supposed to be able to build intimacy, and I just want to know how was the trips?
They were, I think, I mean, we would hold hands. We would, we would hug. We would close mouth kiss. It was really just kind of probably a little more than friendship.
A little more
Um,
friendship.
yeah, yeah. But again, for me, and you know, if I was on the other side of hearing this, I would be losing my mind right now, thinking to myself, like, why couldn't you see this? But I truly couldn't.
Mhm.
It was He was giving me the love that he knew,
Mhm.
and if I was going to stay with him, I had to be okay with that, and I stayed with him.
And were there any complaints on his end during the marriage that you could notice?
No,
No.
and even when he left me, there was never any complaints. He always said he was sorry for what he did to me, because not only did he leave me, but on our fifth year wedding anniversary, that's when he served me the divorce papers.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So y'all how long were you all married? Y'all were together for how many years?
we were together for 11 years altogether, and we were married for 4.
Okay, you all were married for 4.
Yeah.
And during the time that you all were just dating, how was that? Was that was it any difference? Because now I'm seeing that the marriage quickly declined, but
Yeah.
what made you feel like this was the one that you wanted to marry?
Because and I think his bipolar came into it. I think that kind of swept me up a little bit, not knowing what it was, because with bipolar you have very high highs, but he didn't really get the low lows that you get with bipolar.
Mhm.
And maybe that's the difference between 1 and 2. I'm not really sure.
Mhm.
um, but he would be so much fun so
Okay.
often. We would go to the cabin and we would have a fire and drink and, go for rides, not when we
Mhm.
were drinking, but, um, and that was always the really high highs, and we would have a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Um, and that I guess that seemed to be good enough for me. And
Mhm.
when we first started dating, like I said, it was passionate. We couldn't keep our hands off each other for like the first year.
Mhm.
And then things started slowly, and who knows? I was 24, he was 29. So
Mhm.
I'll never know, was it because his bipolar was really becoming an issue at the time that we started declining? Was it
Mhm.
always that way and I didn't see it? I mean, and I'll never know,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah, you'll never know. And so,
Yeah.
do you feel like your relationship was funner or were more fun when you were not married, or
Yes.
better when you weren't married? Yeah.
Yeah, earlier on. And also, we were both working jobs and we were both in college at the time. Both of us had gone back to college later in life when we first started dating.
Mhm.
So it was kind of this big whirlwind of, work and new relationship and school and everything. So, once again, it didn't, like, nothing went from A to Z. It was really just this slow road to decline.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you found out about, I mean, it just hits you, it smacks you that there was another woman. How were you able to pick up the pieces from there?
So I went on I guess, self-damaging trip for a while. So he told me he walked out on me, and then about a week later, I saw on his Facebook profile not that I was stalking him, it just came up
Yeah.
that he had changed his relationship to married to it's complicated. And I reached out to him and said, "Is that about us?" He said, "No, I'm with someone."
Oh
Oh,
wow.
okay. I immediately went to a divorce lawyer then.
Yeah.
I walked out of my house because I was living in Portland, Maine at the time. I walked out of my house a couple blocks down and found a divorce lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started drinking super heavy.
Okay.
And I went on what I call a trampage.
Mm-hmm. How was
And
that?
I slept with a whole lot of men, whole lot
Mm-hmm.
of men.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, I came out of a year and a half marriage where I wasn't even touched, essentially. So that pendulum swung the other way, and about 2 years, and so that I did that, which I don't recommend by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I tried to go to a marriage counselor with my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and the one thing that she told me that will always stick with me, and now I tell women, is make sure you feel everything. And when she said that to me, I wanted to get up and just slap her right in the face. I couldn't believe she had said something like
When
that.
she said, "Make sure you feel everything," what does that mean?
What she meant was don't drown anything. Don't drown out your feelings. Make sure if you got to scream, scream. If you need to cry and grieve and whatever you need to do to get through this,
Mm-hmm.
feel it and get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drown it out because it's going to come back. The feelings always, you have to work through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she meant. And at the time I didn't, I thought that she was just being so mean because I was feeling enough already,
Mm-hmm.
but it really was true. So once I realized that I was drinking and sleeping my pain away,
Yeah.
um, that's when I really started to stop, slow down, and start to feel everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt bad, but I did it. And then 2 years after he left me is when I thought, okay, maybe I'm ready. Maybe I've worked through enough. Not everything, but maybe I've worked through enough where maybe I'll start dating again.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and tried the online dating thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I just have one more question until we go into the next portion. Um, lithium. That kind of threw me for a loop when you said him. I guess the bipolar medication was from lithium.
Yeah. So from what I understand, because I was no longer in his life, I helped him through rehab probably until about 2013. He left me in 2011. Probably 2012, the beginning of 2013 is when he and I finally, like, he got back on his feet and he kind of left, and I started rebuilding my life. And it's not until when he died that his father told me that he was diagnosed with bipolar 1 and they put him on lithium. Yep. So
Oh,
I don't really know the details of it,
okay.
why they put him on, but I guess that it is to treat the bipolar 1.
Wow.
Yeah, and they told him that he can't drink. So I'll never also know is if if he died by accident or if he had
Right.
just given up.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. I'm definitely going to look into lithium because that seems like a dangerous thing to even give someone who's suffering
yeah,
from
yeah,
alcoholism. Seems like there
yeah,
should be another option.
yeah,
Yeah. And so I remember when we first talked or spoke, you were saying how you wanted to share some of the, recent issues that you're able to come or get over in your current marriage. You can tell us how, like, kind of briefly, how you ended up in this current marriage and how you all are able to get over certain loopholes or struggles, I'm sorry, obstacles.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So to pick up where I left off, I did start that online dating thing, and it turned out that I met a man, and we've been married now for next month will be 4 years.
Okay.
And he unfortunately was cheated on as well from his first wife.
Mhm.
And it was a little different from him, not to go into it for him. I don't want to speak for him, but he was cheated on for years,
Mm.
and he does have children.
Oh.
So he was of the mindset, I want to stay for the kids, I want to help, I want to, provide for them still, and all of that. So he kept trying marriage counselors, things
Mm.
like that. So when we got together, and it was kind of roughly around the same time too that his marriage ultimately dissolved and mine did. And we didn't find each other for a few years, but it was roughly around the same time. And now I believe we have a wonderful marriage and relationship, and it was because of what happened to us.
Mhm.
Maybe it wasn't the sole reason, but I do
Right.
believe, and he and I were just talking about this before I came on, that you know I love with my whole being. I always will. That's who I am. If I'm going to love you, I'm going all in. And I did that with my first husband, and I was devastated when
Mhm.
he left me. I
Mhm.
do this with my husband now, and I love him with my whole heart because that's what it means for me. But
Yeah.
if he leaves me tomorrow, if he cheats on me tomorrow, I will leave. I will be
Right.
devastated, but I
Mhm.
will know that I can move on.
That's good.
Yeah, and he feels the same way. Like
Right.
there is no cheating in our marriage.
Right.
That's kind of like the baseline,
Right.
Um, but
It should
also
be the baseline. Like that shouldn't be something that people even have to talk about.
I know it should not be up for consideration. It should not. Um, but then also, and I know people say this a lot, but communication for us is huge.
Yeah.
And to give you an example, I work part time at a chiropractor office,
Mhm.
and I work for a married couple. I
Mhm.
work for a man and a woman, and they're both very good looking.
Mhm.
But I work more with the husband, and I
Okay.
work till 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes, and it's only me and the husband.
Mhm.
And of course, my husband had issues with it, like,
Mhm.
you're coming home later and later, what is going on?
Right.
Immediately he got triggered.
Right.
Oh my god. So we talked about it, and there's things that you do when you talk to your partner.
Right.
There's ways to, like, I would have thrown up a red flag if I would have gotten defensive.
Right.
What do you mean? I'm just working. Instead, I said, no, honey, what you're feeling, I hear you and I want to talk about it. Let's get this out in the open so you understand exactly what is going on.
Right.
And I was working later because he started taking on more patients. But in my
Okay. Yeah.
husband's mind, it
Mhm.
was, oh my God, she's my ex wife. Like, even
Yeah.
after all these years together, it's so the scars are still there, and immediately he went there
Mhm.
until we said, no, let's talk, and he's never brought it up again.
Okay. That's
So
good.
yeah, and I think, and now I tell women, like, betrayal is beautiful, and it's because of that, it's because of
Mhm.
those things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, how many years did you date your current husband before y'all chose to marry?
Yeah, so he proposed to me on our 5th dating anniversary.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yep.
So y'all dated for 5 years.
Yep, we were together for 5 years. He
Mhm.
proposed, and then it was about another 2.5 years until we married.
Okay. Okay. So y'all were together 7 years, 7.5 years before marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
totally get that. You got to make sure.
Yeah. And that's what he said too. He's like, I can't, before 5 years, I can't. Me, on the other hand, I knew the second sentence. And I always tell him this, when we first met, and I don't know, I knew he was going to be my person.
Mhm.
And I just, for some reason, even after all the pain I went through, I don't know, it was like, yep, we're together. And that was
Right.
it.
And so within all of the years, I guess y'all been together for 11
Yes,
and a
11
half.
years again. So I'm hoping this time it goes further.
Right, right. And I understand that, it's just in your head. We got to pass this mark.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
so what is something within those 11 years, one major challenge that you all have had that you had to get over, and just kind of walk us through those steps?
I think it's Actually, my husband, Corey, is my husband. I think it's Corey's insecurity when it comes to what happened to him. And because this isn't the first time this has happened, I'm a huge moth fanatic. I study moths. I love moths. Um,
Like flying moths?
yes.
Oh, I
Yep.
hate
Like the Luna moths and all that. I love them.
moths.
Um, but somebody, when I worked at another place years ago, somebody gave me a book. A man gave me a book,
Mhm.
and he's like, nobody gives a woman a book unless something's going on. And it's not that he's not accusing me by any means, but he's just like, I don't like, it's like immediately he doesn't know what to do with himself. Like,
Mhm.
he wants to talk, but the emotions are there, and he still has a hard time. So like I said, the communication is key, and not only just to respond to him, but to truly hear him, because I think that was something that was missing in his relationship, um, that the female never gave him. Like, she never listened to him, and
Mhm.
what was going on, and why he was getting triggered, and how could she help. And
Okay.
so I think that's really hard. And for me, I think my triggers are just I, I don't know. I think one of the biggest obstacles that we had to overcome was when my first husband died.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, because I took it so very hard that he thought I was still in love with him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so it was hard, and I could still cry. Like, his birthday's next month. He died in November. I'll probably still shed a tear
Yeah,
because, you know, it's a part of my
right.
life.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is definitely a major part of your life. There was one of the women, I don't even know if you're in in the group that I'm in, but I think she was upset that one of her not one of her exes, but her current, I think her current partner or whatever, he wanted to go to a funeral, or he was upset about one of his exes passing away. I think it was an ex-wife, and you know, she didn't know if she was wrong for feeling the way she felt about feeling, I guess, maybe jealous about it. But, the person passed away,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
a different type of sadness that we experience. But those are true feelings. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
On both
Absolutely.
on both parts. And so I understand
Yeah.
it. That was a major part of your life. Like you said, you were shattered. And
Yeah.
so I can definitely see the issues that you all had. And sometimes we all can have them when we don't when we bring our past into our current. um it can damage those relationships that's right here right now. So how do you all work on that right now? Do you all go to counseling now? And I'm
No.
not trying to get in your business. I go to counseling on my own because I know I need it on my own. I love it. But
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, how do you put those things in place to make sure that you're taking care of the necessaries to prevent any further damage from happening?
I think one of the big things is that we do make our marriage a priority, and
Right.
the marriage is all about being together, being, as you can imagine, intimacy is a big thing for me, and not just sex.
Right.
Holding hands, patting my lower back as he walks by, me giving him a kiss, and just things like that. And it truly is everyday activities that we
Yeah.
do, whether it's uh, you're getting mad at me for something.
Hmm.
Okay, wait a minute, it's not you. I got to think about this. Like,
Hmm.
so it truly is those everyday little pay attention, self-reflection. We both have boundaries we've set in place when we got together, and like I said, one is the no cheating. But
Right.
if I'm ever out somewhere, I always let him know. um, and I think one of the things too is I really learned what his ex-wife did, and he really learned what my ex-husband did in our relationships to us,
Hmm.
to our psyche.
Hmm.
And we work all the time on either making sure we're not doing it. If we are doing it, let him know that, hey, I have no choice, I'm going to be working late or whatever. So we're very, very
Uh,
mindful of each other. And again, I know it's said to death, but communication really is key
right.
because
Yeah.
it stops anything before it happens.
Yes, yes. And then making sure, I think that's so important. It's easy to say that someone is being insecure, but it's also a duty, I believe, even as a husband or a wife, to make sure that person feels secure. That's a
Yes.
part of love. You know what they went through. If you really care about them, they're still healing. We're all still healing from things so that we
Yeah.
can become whole. If you really care, you'll still try to make that person feel as secure as possible. And so I just take from your marriage, be intentional. You
Yes.
didn't if you weren't going to be intentional, there was no point in getting married. We know
Yeah.
what we were doing. And
Yeah.
so before we exit out, I really appreciate, I'm gonna have you back because you have this whole segment that you speak about. And I know we don't have that much time right now, but can you just tell us what you do? Because I love it. I saw it. Let me see if I can get on Facebook real quick. I'm about to tell y'all what she says. I love it. She said, betrayal is beautiful. Don't spend years in an unfaithful marriage trying to make it work. Make that infidelity work in your favor and live the life you deserve. I want to hear briefly about that.
Yeah.
Five 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. So, as I said in the very beginning, when my husband left me, I was absolutely devastated. I laid on the couch for a month drinking wine and stroking my cats. Like, that's all I did. And then when I talk to women now, I tell them, if I knew the life I was going to have, I would have held that door open for that man and told him to
Okay.
right? But I had to work at it. It didn't
Right.
come to me. It didn't, me and my husband work every day at our and we honestly have a wonderful marriage. And I can
Mhm.
say that now because I was in a bad one.
Right.
I can say that my husband, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I can pretty much say that my husband is not cheating on me, that
Mhm.
he is not with another woman because I've had that before. I
Mhm.
can love my husband with my whole heart and not worry if the marriage is going to end. Because if it does, I'll be okay. I
Yeah.
will be okay. And that's what betrayal gave me. You
Yes.
know, I learned, I think I'm a beautiful person. I love my body. I love, everything that you're supposed to work on, truly, healthily work on, I did
Mhm.
because of betrayal. And
Right.
all of that, everything that I have now, I feel is because of that one tipping point in my life.
Mhm.
And one of the big things is I believe that betrayal is a gift
Mm.
because now you know who that person is. They just showed you who they are. Whether
Mm.
it's a man or a woman, doesn't matter. They showed you who they are. Now do something about it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I tell women in this society it's like, oh my god, you're supposed to have these intense feelings and betrayal is horrible, and what are you going to do about it, and betrayal trauma and all this. You don't have to think that way. You don't
Mm.
have to think it's, I mean, yes, it sucks, of course it does, but you don't have to think of it just that way. You can think of it as the gift that it is and
Mm.
go, okay, I'm going to cry and scream and do whatever I need to do to get through this. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to glow up in about a year
Right.
from now, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that if he was interested, and I know it doesn't matter now, he's actually gone. And I'm not laughing at that. I'm just saying it can't even never happen. But do you think that if he would have wanted to stay, that you would have stayed?
I don't think so. No, after he left me for another woman, there was going to be a chance, and like I did, I helped him through rehab, and maybe 10 years down the road, if he was still sober and I wasn't with anybody and we had changed as people, completely apart, separate lives, maybe. I mean, there's always a maybe in life, but
Right.
I never ever wanted to be with somebody who could so blatantly view
Okay.
another person.
Okay, I got you. And if
Yeah.
there, I have two questions, and one is, what holds most women hostage to that marriage, even though they, or what do you think, um, that they won't leave?
I think it's that systematic breakdown,
Mhm,
um, that they get used to it,
mhm,
that it's not so bad, that they don't remember what it was like 5, 10 years ago. They remember what it was like a year ago. That's what they compare it to.
mhm,
And I think I really believe that that's what that holds most women hostage.
mhm,
And unfortunately, another thing I was reading today is a lot of women say that, well, it's the devil I know compared to the devil I don't know, which
mhm.
means, oh, well, yeah, he's bad, but somebody out there could be much worse,
Yeah,
which is terrible too.
yeah, yeah. And so, what is something you want to leave us with, the people who are watching?
Yeah. I would love to have women out there know that, if there is another woman in your relationship, if you are betrayed, if you were cheated on, please, seriously, don't spend years. The once a cheater, always a cheater. Yes, there are exceptions to every single rule, but you don't have to live that way. Take the betrayal as the gift it is, and learn from it, grow from it, and move on and move up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Miss Lisa, we really, I especially, I appreciate, I appreciate your testimony and sharing that you will live. You
Yeah.
actually can survive. Yeah, it's gonna hurt, but you can get over it. So thank you so much for just sharing your experience with us. And I'm gonna learn from it. I hope that everybody else who is watching will learn from it. And thank you all for watching. Make sure you tune in, not next week for the other woman, but the week after, next, for the next segment of the other woman on Thursday at 8:45 p.m. And until next time.